Hello, everybody. My name is Connor Kennedy, and this is my commentary for my virtual showcase. Um, if you didn't know, my showcase is a theatrical production, including some mixed media. I did all of the editing, I did all of the shooting, all of the acting. I had help recording the original song for this by the wonderful Eve Chom. But other than that, I'm ready to get right into it. I'm going to break down some of the struggles that I had making this showcase, some of the things that I'm proud of, some of the things that I'm not so proud of, and the things that I've learned. But yeah, let's get
Madame
right
and Monsieur,
into
it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you
down
tonight.
the volume a little
And
bit.
now, we invite you to relax, let us pull up a chair, as the
So
Anime
yeah,
Thoughts program
this
semi-proudly
opening
presents
is
the showcase.
a little strange.
Welcome to the one-man video.
I'm really excited to talk about this because my thought process behind this opening was really kind of dumb. I was like, because if you don't know the purpose of this showcase, it is there are multiple versions of Connor from different realities, each talking to Connor and giving him life lessons. So I was thinking about how do I open this show up in a fun and funny way? Well, let's just have me doing a butchering accent from a different country version of Connor. So I chose French, and I can't do a French accent. But I think that makes this opening even more funny because I'm absolutely butchering it.
Show put on by Connor Kennedy. It
But
was supposed to be a
I'm having a
stage
lot of
show,
fun
but they said that sickness has nothing
acting
to say
here
about that.
because I'm just getting to do a lot of fun movements and being really
Anyway, if
sassy
this
in a
was
French
stage
accent.
show, I
But yeah, near the end here, I interrupt myself. I yell at Connor to get off camera, then it cuts over here.
Everybody, sorry,
You
I
can
was
probably
supposed to
tell
start
that there
the
is a lot of
show,
green
but
screen in this.
someone wanted to
It's
start
not the
early.
cleanest thing, but it is what I had to
had
work
a
with.
showcase all kind of prepared to film, and it was gonna be kind of fun.
So while
but
I'm recording all of this,
found something.
my
So you might be
setup is
wondering why
basically
there was a
me
French version of
against
me
one
in this
singular
video.
wall in my
Well,
room, facing
I found a device
just
that
a huge tripod,
connects to multiple
like on my bed.
devices.
Because my
Just
room is
listen,
not that
okay?
big,
Hold on.
so I basically had
I
like
know
a
that appearances can be
6 foot
deceiving,
by 6 foot
but I
square
actually think this
space
is an
to act
extremely
in, and I had to
advanced
be
piece
really
of
creative with
technology. I think
how
these
I
things around its neck are like
shot, how I
wireless,
emoted
they're
so that I
simply
wouldn't be
numbered.
wouldn't
Just
be
showed
off
up on my
screen.
doorstep with an Amazon package.
And it was
Like,
that's probably
probably
the
not the
biggest
smartest
challenge
thing
was just getting my space all figured out here.
Bro, do not
And this is
scare me
the
like
main
that.
thing that I was
So in my defense, I
that the
didn't
show is
think
supposed to
the
be.
rule was-
So if you didn't hear before, you probably didn't, but in the show, the French Connor mentions that this was supposed to be a stage show. And yeah, that's true. This show was originally supposed to be live on stage in front of a studio audience. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that. This entire thing is virtual, so I had to adapt and basically record everything in my room. So I needed to green screen. I green screened the little Connor is supposed to be everything that would have been on stage. Basically, what would have happened is I would have had a huge projector projecting this big Connor right here, and I on stage would be interacting with it while in front of the audience. And it was kind of like a mixture between video presentation and a theatrical performance, and it was really cool, and I really wanted to do it, but unfortunately I couldn't, which is really sad because it means that anything that I kind of end up with will not be what I want it to be, because it will not invoke the same feeling as an actual stage show, which is sad, but you know, it's the thing you gotta do when adapting to this kind of this virus that's going around. But yeah, this was the main idea for the entire show. It was
Nonetheless,
me
I
interacting
deliver
with
this machine
a
to you
pre-recorded
for the
version of
purposes
myself.
of
I wanted the smaller version of
I
me
am
to
your
be
Ronaldo
mostly
universe,
long
where you
takes. I
became
didn't want to
renowned
cut too
physicist
much
and
to
created a
emulate the same
machine
feeling
that
of
was
a stage
capable
show,
of appearing
because in a
in
stage show you don't have the luxury of cutting. You don't have the luxury of making mistakes and doing them over again. So I wanted to do long takes
Definitely
and get them
not.
done
Only in
as
different
short as
timelines.
possible.
In my world, you took an immense interest in
So
the
yeah,
sciences,
basically,
and when there was money-
the gist of the professor's scene is that he has explained to Connor the the purpose of this machine, which I was going back and forth with what I wanted the machine to be. The machine can peer into other realities, and that's kind of the whole basis for the show and how Connor learned his lessons. I didn't know what I wanted it to be. I was worrying about maybe it could be an iPad and it could be like a funny gag thing like a Nintendo Switch or something. I ended up just going with like the complete gag where like I looked around my room, what is a random object that I have that would make a funny technology thing? And I just had this little Darth Vader plushie holding a candy cane, and I was like, he has like technology stuff on his thing. It could be some funny gags and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's again, it's not ideal, but I think it's pretty funny. It's this show is not really supposed to be serious until it is. I like kind of balancing serious things and funny things at the same time. So, going fast forwarding a little bit. Professor Connor goes away after explaining the kind of message of the show. The message being to seize the day, seize every moment. And that is the theme of my showcase. I probably should have prefaced that this is the theme of my showcase, is seizing the day. Carpe diem. So the professor basically just explained that. There will be multiple versions of Connor, each providing a different insight onto the main theme of seizing the day. So Connor has a little bit of self-reflection here, eventually decided to go along with it, and we cut over to probably my favorite person to film, who is who is this guy right here.
That I agreed to do this.
Right now I'm going to go into a little bit more of my setup because the audio in my room is not very good, as you can probably tell. You can probably hear a little bit of echo and reverb. So basically in my room, I took all of the sheets that I could in my house and I staple gunned them to my wall so that I could have I could have echo reduction in my room. And it was really difficult to do that because my room is already small enough, so just adding like comforters to the wall made it hot and stuffy and really difficult to move around in, but it got the noise down. So yeah, basically anytime I'm acting here, I'm like confined to like a little square box to act in, so I couldn't really move around that whole much. That being said, this guy right here was my favorite person to act because he was just so like extra and eccentric.
Did you get the spiel from the nerd guy?
I don't know. I loved playing him.
You, but from a different.
And this is sorry, some technical difficulties there, but yeah, this guy was probably my favorite to act. He was super fun and energetic, and this is probably the first time I can point out how I'm doing this long takes while I'm reacting to each other. Basically, I had recorded audio singular tracks of this guy's line, of these guys' lines that I could react to as Small Connor. So if you can see, I have a little earpiece here, and I'm also wearing one as Little Connor, and this is basically so that I can hear myself talking as the other character and then react accordingly and make sure that the lines have good syncing up. Some of them are a little not perfect. But I think that kind of adds to like the kind of charm of it. It's a connection. It's like a video call between realities. The connection is not very good. So yeah, but yeah, I'm basically listening to myself in my head and acting along with it, and that's kind of the whole thing. This guy was really fun to play. It was also probably I did him really early on, so it took me a lot of takes to get it right because I wasn't really in the groove yet. So it took me a while to get this down because I was still kind of adjusting to my space. But yeah, moving on from him, it cuts over to this guy. This is the dad character, and I was really excited for the dad character because he's just so corny, and I could be as corny and as ham as I wanted to here. He is not a very serious guy. He's just a happy dad. And so I didn't really have to worry about being serious or believable. I could just be extra and happy, and I love that. I also wanted it to feel very dad, so I had him filming in places that you would see him. So I went over to my local park. There was nobody there. I was being safe, so don't worry about it. But yeah, I went over to my local park for a really short scene. Then we cut over to the house. And again, I kind of traded the audio for the scene. And yeah, it's not great audio, but it's more believable that this dude is in his house right now, right? So I think I prefer that to having perfect audio. But yeah, we just walk around the house a little bit. I like this kind of shot here where you can see me walking through the house, feels more organic. And yeah, one of my favorite gags with this dude is that he is super sexual, which I will show you in a hot second here. After this scene, we head over to the poem, and I love this cut right here. It's just a what blackout, and then ooh, the vibe and music comes in. Heck yeah. And yeah, it's like, oh, we got the zoom ins, we got the slow-mo motion like hand camera work to look even more cheesy and home filmy, and then slowly we pan over to the god himself. Oh, look at that man. Look at him. And then we go into the poem. I'm not gonna go too far into the poem, because if you haven't seen a video yet, then you should probably go see that, because it was a very short poem, but it's funny. It's one of my favorite gags, and my teachers didn't want me to put it in there because it's a little bit sexual. But honestly, this video is made for people my age who are like going off from high school and going to different parts of their lives, so I really don't think it matters all that much. I think that people my age will be able to appreciate this joke. So yeah, whatever. I didn't really need any of that. Eventually it cuts over here when he says,
we still have a musical number to get to, so.
Okay.
Okay, and we cut over here. So yeah, again, I had very little space to work with in my house for filming, with, good quality. So I had to get creative to, like, make the shots seem organic. So I had to do some cool cinematic cuts. So I go straight from here and then do a quick cut to boom.
We made it already.
And I did a lot of stuff like this. Later on, we'll be able to like see more of the cuts. This is again probably one of the first projects where I got complete control over filming and editing. So I got to put in things that I thought were fun and that made it more interesting to watch. So I put in some cool and fun cuts here and there to make it seem more alive and not just static, me standing in like a square space for 20 minutes. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed doing this kind of stuff.
After we got talking, and
again, you'll be able to see some mistakes while going through here because I was kind of crunched for time. I was working with equipment that I was not able to keep for the entire recording, for the entire winter break. So I had to really crunch for time of what I was recording. So some mistakes definitely flooded in, like right here. I just randomly pop in.
I've never
from the scene because I forgot to record me walking in or a longer scene interacting with this guy, so I just kind of like pop into the scene and start reacting. So yeah, you'll see like small mistakes like that probably, but it's nothing big, and I did what I had to make it work, and I think it does work. I'm pretty proud of what actually came out of it. So yeah, moving on a little bit, I cut over, and then we have some one of my favorite parts, and one of the parts I'm most proud of.
Musical.
The musical portion of this video. I'm not gonna play the song because I'm not gonna force you to listen to the entire song here. But basically, this entire song was gonna be on stage for the stage show. It was gonna be, this right here was going to be video, where I'm introducing the song, but when I say
star without his stage.
when I say what is a star without his stage, I was going to sync out of the frame and then I was gonna pop out on stage. It was gonna be a transition from video on to live performance. And that's the kind of thing I was really excited to do. I was really excited to have that kind of juxtaposition between moving back and forth from video and live performance, and it would have been really fun, but I couldn't. So I kind of had to make this a lot more music video-y and add cuts a lot, add like some props here and there, and a lot of green screen to have both of the characters on screen at the same time. And I like this joke right here. So when I pop up here, I say this isn't what I had in mind, but we're going to work with it anyway. I like that part right there. I'm like acknowledging the fact that this isn't what I want. This isn't what I had planned for, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. And that's kind of like the whole point of this virtual showcase, right? This is not what any of us want. It's not our ideal situation, but we are art kids and we persevere, and we come up with solutions. So I kind of am like, well, we're gonna work with it, we're gonna go with it anyway, and we're pumped. So yeah, the more you watch this, you see how much is like cut. I'm doing a lot more editing. I have a couple of Easter eggs here. I have just some like pretty well-known musicals. I didn't want to go too obscure with the musicals in case some musical normies were watching out there, freaking plebs. But yeah, I put in some of the playbills for some pretty popular musicals, and I gave a little bit of a blurb because this version of me is supposed to be a Broadway star. So like, these are other shows that Connor were in or weren't in this alternate reality. I was playing Elphaba in Wicked for some reason. I was playing the one person in Newsy that didn't dance because I can't dance. In Heathers, I'm playing Connor Kennedy in a skirt because I want to be a Heather, definitely. I'm playing Johnny Depp in Sweeney Todd. I'm playing a manipulative asshole in Dear Evan Hansen because Evan Hansen is a manipulative asshole. And I'm definitely not in Hamilton because the only person I could be in Hamilton without being problematic would be King George, and dear God, I don't have the same bars as Jonathan Groff. But yeah, moving on a little bit, we can fast forward. Again, this part right here, the main chorus. The main chorus was probably like the hardest part for me to like decide what I wanted it to be, right? Because I couldn't dance, really. This is probably the widest shot I could possibly have, right? In my room. This is the widest shot possible for me. So I couldn't dance. I really couldn't. So I had to really emote what this chorus was as best I could. On stage, I had plans to call up some of my dancing friends who could maybe like two more come on, do like a trio kick line. Something to make it seem more alive on stage. But in my room, I can't really do that alone in my room, just having zero room to move. So I had to emote as best I can, and I had to do some editing in here. So I put in some lyrics. I put in a little bit of zoom-ins, like over here I like had a dramatic zoom in, and also over here I have like your first like dramatic cut. When like I turn over here and I just smash cuts over there. And that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to do to make things feel a lot less static and more like it's moving around. And also, if I go back like a frame, you can see how it cuts in just like a little bit, just to be like a little more dramatic. So yeah, I wanted it to feel a lot more music video-esque, and like moving and dynamic. And I couldn't do it amazingly because of the constraints that I had, but I worked with what I had, and I'm pretty proud with how it turned out. Added in some lyrics to make it seem just a little bit more fun. And over here we have the cut over to the second chorus, which is the regular Connor. The rest of this is pretty much just like, there's not a lot of effects. I wanted it to be mostly emoting and knowing what the character's feeling. So like when you hear Connor sing, it's a lot more sad because he's a lot less sure of himself. So I didn't want to like put any flashing words there because I feel like I could have expressed it pretty well by myself just through acting. And then we have the part where other Connor comes in. Not a super clean cut, but it was the best I could do with the green screen that I had. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I wanted to be on stage, where this Connor would have been the big projected one interacting with the smaller Connor on stage. But because I couldn't do that, I just had them both on screen at the same time. I still like the way it turned out. I still think it looks fine. And then we have some cuts here. Yeah. We have some fun cuts to these guys. Just like singular lines. Yeah, and that's pretty much the rest of the show. The rest of the song, at least. And then we have the cut away from this part. We have Broadway Connor's finale. The ending of the song, Broadway Connor bows out. I wanted that to feel very abrupt because the next part of the show is the most serious part. I'm gonna skip past a lot of it because it's kind of just sad. I wrote this to be the most serious part of the show, and it was definitely, I wouldn't call it the hardest part because I wanted it to feel organic. I didn't want it to feel rehearsed, so I wanted to get it done in as least takes as possible. So I'm like, oh, pardon me. I'm not going to go too into depth as to how I did it. I just kind of did it. I kind of performed to the best of my ability, as in as little as time as I could, because I didn't want it to feel too fake. But yeah, I'm interacting here with a person who has gotten the exact same life as me, the exact same opportunities, but has failed, essentially. I'm essentially facing my greatest fear here, right? I'm facing someone who had the same passions as me, but just didn't make it, and is in a spot of monotony and sadness and just unfulfilled desire and unfulfilled dreams. And it kind of builds up. And I'm really, okay, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am kind of proud of my reacting here.
You're gonna end up
Because the more
alone
you
and
watch, the
worse-
more you can see how my mood. I started off kind of smiley and pumped because I just did the music. But the more he talks, the more confused, and then I go into sad, and then I go into anxiety, and I go into panic, and then it kind of like all builds up, and I eventually lash out. And I like it. I like it a lot. I like the way this scene turned out. And then when he kind of closes out, I always wanted to have a more dramatic scene, because most of the acting I have done up until this point has been very comedic, has been very eccentric, not just in this show, but in all of my other drama productions in the past that I have done. They've all been comedic and exaggerated and caricatures, so I wanted a chance to kind of like do something I wasn't comfortable with. I wanted to do a more dramatic and serious scene. So this is kind of like the chance that I had to do that, and I like it. I do like the way it turned out, and over here we can kind of see more of the more of the cuts that I wanted to do to make it feel less static. I kind of like realize that this is what I want to do. I freak out. I turn off the video. It cuts to me over here. You can kind of see me start to like unravel a little bit. I'm trying to calm myself down, and then we do like a smash cut really quick. I start to collapse, and then we cut to me on my bed. And then I start off calm, and then realization kind of hits, and I do like the way this turned out. I do. Sorry, more technical difficulties, but this is the longest take in the show. I wanted it just to be a long, emotion-filled thing, and it's all improv, by the way. I didn't write this scene. I wanted it to feel organic as much as I could, so I didn't write it. I just kind of thought, what would I do in this situation if I was faced with the truth that I was anxious about? Well, I would call someone I trust, and I would talk to them about it. And what would they say about the projects I'm going through? I kind of equated this to mean a couple things. It could relate to my acting passion, because I say things like, I'm not sure about it, and I'm not sure if this is the right choice for my life. I wanted it to be vague enough to equate to a lot of things, but personal enough that I could equate it to myself, because it equates to my acting passion and how unstable that is. It equates to how I might not be ready to move on from high school and going into secondary school. And it can just equate to this video, to the showcase that I'm making, to the stress that basically the entire class went under into creating these huge art projects for the final show. And yeah, I wanted it to equate to a lot, and I think I did that pretty well. And then after this long scene of me improvising, I cut over to here, where I do my final monologue over here, where I basically just talk about what I'm doing and what I'm going to do, and that's kind of it, honestly. Again, I think I went over all the technical things that I did with my showcase, all the struggles. I had some help with my family. Like, some of the scenes that you saw, like the poem scene, were recorded by my siblings because I couldn't record them by myself. I had some help with a lot of the dad scenes, but that was mostly it, because I wanted the dad scenes to be more dynamic and more like, oh, it's kind of just like a dad recording like a home video. So I had some help recording those, but everything else was basically all me. I wanted it to feel as much personal to Connor as possible, so I didn't want to have too much help. The biggest thing that I got to hand it to someone else is the song. The song it was written by me. The lyrics were written by me, but it was really Eve Chom. You can go see him on Instagram, and He is an amazing music. He's incredibly talented in music, and he's done a couple songs before. And he helped me a lot with this song, and it really shone through. And I also had help from Kaya Dalian, who is also in this showcase. You should go check him out. Actually, also check out everybody in the showcase, because they're all really super talented. But Kaya helped me with the audio a lot. He gave me professional recording equipment to record the song, so that I could have it all there and ready to work with. And also shout out to Vivian Zhang, who is also in this showcase. She made the movie Conversations with a Ghost that I'm also in, that I also act in. She let me utilize her microphone and her camera rig for this entire thing, and I'm super, super thankful to Vivian. But that's kind of it. Thank you everyone for watching my showcase. Watching this one dude talk in front of a green screen for like 20 minutes. I had a lot of fun working on it. I had a lot of creative moments working on it. I learned a lot about what I want to do with my acting passion and the things I'm good at, the things I need to work at. And I'm super excited to do more with my life. And so, thank you so much. This has been my commentary on my Carpe Diem showcase, my theatrical production. Thank you so much. Bye. Love you.